everybody. Oh, there we go. All right, we got comments and everything. Okay. Howdy, everybody. Steve Kosniewski here. Hope you're all doing well. Um, this is, of course, Kiko, who you've seen many times before. She likes to sneak into the room, particularly when I'm doing videos. Um, but I was sort of hoping that I could introduce you all to my other kitty, Callie, tonight. Um, Callie has been in the hospital. Here, you sit and stand in for your sister. Okay, so in case I get the question, no, they are not biological siblings. They are sisters in the sense that they are both raised by my fiance and I. But Callie has been in the hospital for a few days last week. It was very touch and go. We were very worried about her. So she has, it turns out, diabetes and pancreatitis. But she went into the hospital. Yeah, that's right. Show everybody your butt. She's such a ham. And Callie is a little bit more subdued, but I just want to let everybody know Callie is doing much better now. She went to the hospital for a couple of days. They gave her a bunch of fluid treatments. We now are giving her insulin, so she is doing much, much better. So this was all kind of weighing on me for the past week, along with some other just like horrifying things going on in my personal life. So I was at points worried that I was not going to make it for the first time since I believe 2016 to the Scares That Cares weekend. Um, but I made it. Callie got a lot better, so I'm going to say thank you. Yeah, that's it. Show everybody your butt. Show everybody your little pseudopod there. Um, I was worried that Callie was not going to make it and I would have to stay home. So I told some folks at the con, I mentioned it on TikTok. I really want to thank you guys all for, pitching in and buying a couple books and helping us to cover her medical costs, which were very, very high. But like I said, thanks to the good work of some of the folks here in Central PA, the vets and nurses and lab techs and everybody involved at the animal hospital, Callie came through. She is looking a million times better. So I know that's probably what most of you were tuning in to find out, and not so much all the other stuff about the horror convention. Say hello to the people. If you're going to be here, why can't you at least be cute and be helpful? But, so, that being said, I'm very relieved. I finally got to see her on Monday, and she just looks a million times better, except for that she's got four little wristlets, I guess you'd say now, around each of her legs, where I guess the IVs went in. So, welcome to another live stream. This is, in fact, going to be primarily focused on the Scares That Cares Authorcon 3. Number 3 for me in attending. And for back when there was no Authorcon, and there was just the Scares That Cares, it was more of a celebrity-focused weekend. I guess I attended 5 or 6 of them. I've not attended them all, regretfully. That's sort of a big regret in my life, because I could have come very close to attending them all. I think they started in 2015. Now, in the description there, I described it as the premier horror literature event in America. And I've been hearing a lot of people describing it that way. And it just really seems to be, if that's not the case, then it's definitely getting to where it's getting to be the case. I don't know. I don't know the numbers by attendees or anything like that, but I think if it is not currently the premier event, it will be soon. And somebody asked me this weekend, what do you think is the San Diego Comic-Con of horror events? And I was like, honestly, and not just blowing smoke, and I attend a lot of horror events, a lot of you who watch these videos have heard me talk about them. They vary, and they're all, well, generally they're all good in their own ways. Some of them are, I hesitate to say any convention is bad. Well, I I've been to a few bad conventions, but those usually only get 1 or 2 years, and then they kind of fade into the distance. Uh, but Scares the Cares has always been an amazing event and a big event, and since the flagship Scares event went away, Authorcon I think has really taken off. I think it was a very wise move, prescient almost move on the part of the organizers and the board of directors and the folks who decided to switch the focus from celebrities, which, yeah, okay, we all want to meet the third body that Freddy Krueger killed in Nightmare on Elm Street 7 or whatever. But shifting the focus, I think, has transformed this into an entirely different event. And that comes as someone who, like I said, has attended like eight or nine of these things. Um, so if you can go ahead, if you are watching, I have the comments up. If anybody's out there watching right now, if you could click and leave a comment and let me know that those are working. And when I see that, again, this is very, what's the word? Informal. So if you have any questions that you'd like to, have answered, just let me know, and we'll go from there. So this event was just an amazing time for me personally, not just as a horror fan, but as a human being. So I got to meet a bunch of my best friends in the world for the first time. How often do you get to say that? So at this event, I got to meet Stevie Kopis, who I've known for 10 years. She's been a writing partner of mine for 7 years. Slash Five. Her first came out in 2017, and and I've never met her, never laid eyes on her. And most people don't believe that, and some people, I think, I even heard some rumors around the convention that they thought she was a pseudonym or something of mine, and I'm like, why would I pick a name so eerily similar to mine and claim it was a made up collaborator? I'm like, okay, but no, she was real. You all got to meet her, or maybe I paid an actress. But no, I got to meet Stevie, and I got to meet Gavin Dillinger, another collaborator who I've known for not quite so long. We've probably known each other since 2018 or so. I think that's when I first offered him a short story for the release of his comic Laughter, and that was probably when we first started speaking. And then we did both work on a collaboration last year, which we're shopping around, and more on that to follow. After the next few works come out. So I got to meet two of my best friends in the world who I've never laid eyes on before in person. I also got to see Wiley Young, again, one of my best friends in the world and a collaborator, although I've seen him many, many times. And of course the entire family. So when I got there probably around midnight, on Thursday, or maybe not quite that late, but I saw Joe Ripple for the first time at this year, and I was like, "Hey Joe, good to see you." Gave him a hug, and he said, "Hey Steven, welcome home." And I know I've heard them say that before. I don't know if they greet everyone that way. I didn't really want to inquire about it. And be a dork and be like, "Well, did he just tell me welcome home because he knows this is like a home to me?" Or do they say that to everyone because the idea is to create a welcoming atmosphere? But I was like, that's exactly it. They create a place that's like a home for people from all over the world. There were a lot of authors there from the UK, and it was announced that there will be I think it was announced that we were supposed to not announce that there will be an Authorcon UK. So I think that means we're supposed to announce it, but pretend like it's secret insider information. But I'm not sure. But that information went out to an auditorium full of people. So I'm sure word is out now. I'm sure I'm not breaking any taboos. Hundreds of people have heard this before, but apparently Authorcon UK is on. Okay, there's Laura J. Hickman. It was a great time seeing you this weekend. You too, Laura. Thanks. And thanks for leaving that comment so I know I'm actually broadcasting, which, as a millennial, is a constant, worry of mine. I probably had that millennial pause that we always get accused of at the beginning, no doubt. So, yeah, this weekend was just a blur and an amazing event. So, like I said, I was dealing with a number of issues on the professional and the personal front, and just not having a good week last week at all. And most of them I'm not going to get into, but I think it's sufficient that you all know that Callie, my cat, was. We were worried she was going to pass. Um, so I mean that alone. Yeah, I know it's like white people problems in the first world, sure, but people, their their pets are part of their family, so it's very concerning to me, and we'd do anything for her, and we did. So it was gratifying, to get her back, to give her a second lease on life. It's what it really feels like. It really feels like I was genuinely worried she was not going to come back from the hospital. And Laura says, "Kitty's our family." Yeah, thank you. Um, so that was my week, and I was very genuinely concerned that I was not simply not going to be able to go to Virginia because of responsibilities. But I managed to cobble together some kind of a plan on Wednesday, and then I got 10 more phone calls from work Thursday morning. I'm not exaggerating. I didn't tell you about that aspect, and nor am I, nor is it my place to tell. But right up until the moment I stepped out the door of Air Studio International headquarters here, I was worried that I would be delayed. But then things kind of turned around on a dime. So I know all of you have stories about getting to scares the cares this weekend. There was this big flurry of photos of everybody in like fucking planes, trains, and automobiles, or like the final courtroom scene of Seinfeld, like just getting by gyrocopter and blimp and whatever to scares the cares. Um, but as soon as I hopped in the car, it was smooth sailing. I was worried about the bridge in Baltimore, which got horribly destroyed recently in like a dystopian nightmare for the people of Baltimore. Um, but I don't know. I guess I either left at the right time, or GPS was good to me, or fortune favored the bold, or whatever. But I had absolutely no issues on the drive. I made my usual Wawa stop. Being a Philly boy, I had to stop for Wawa and get my tuna hoagie and secondary hoagie, whatever that may be, so that I'm not constantly worried about food. I have at least four small sandwiches to once you cut a hoagie in half, to get me through the week while figuring out other foods. Um, and even that, like I was just like, there's a Wawa. Let me pick that one. 2 minutes, I was in and out, and I was like, this is going smoothly. So I got down there to Williamsburg, and as soon as I pulled the car up to the bay of the wonderful Kings Mill Road, Hilton down there, Deshem Arnold and Becky Lejeune rolled up, like the bad kids in a '70s like teen movie, and we're like, "Hey, what's up, Kozanuski?" I'm like, "Hey guys." So right even before I got out of the car, I'm seeing friends and colleagues, and so you know, hopped out of the car, dropped off my stuff, and pulled the car over to the ballroom. And this time I was bringing around copies of Razortooth. And if you guys are Slashviver fans, you already know who Razortooth is. And this is the prequel to Slashviver that Stevie Kopus insisted that we bring out of retirement. And she said, let's pull her out of the mothballs. Let's make a Razortooth prequel. Find out where she came from. So I had the 60 copies, and I'll show you. We had the con exclusive cover from Matt Wilson, and then I saw Matt Wilson at the con, and he gave me the original painting. So if you have one of these orange covers, you have a collector's item there. There's only 60 of those in the world. There will only ever be 60 of those in the world. And if you want one, if you want one of the few remaining stock, reach out to me. If you go to Manuscripts Burn, oh, hey, Kiko. Did you bring your sister? No, you just came to get attention because you know I'm broadcasting. So if you want one of the remaining stock of Razortooth, the triumphant return to publishing of Stevie Kopus, and the triumphant continuing of publishing of Stephen Kazanowski, reach out to me. However you like. Of course, you can send me a direct message on Facebook, as I assume you're probably watching this on Facebook. Well, you are if you're watching it live. Yeah, okay. You're very helpful. You're very helpful for helping me keep my mind coordinated. Or email, whatever. Go to my blog. Laura says, yes, please, I want one. Okay, reach out, Laura. I will absolutely get you a copy of Razortooth. So I got, the 60 con exclusive copies of Razortooth. Got a bunch of Slashvivers because I figured those would sell like hotcakes, and they did as well. Again, I'll go in to help out Callie's hospital bills. Why don't you go hang out with your sister? I'll let her know she's loved, and we're happy to have her here. Yeah. Stop bothering me. Laura says, yippee. Okay, good. So I dropped off all that stuff, and like I was saying, I was dealing with a lot of stuff last week, and I didn't even write my gross out competition entry. Now, again, similar to Scares That Care, I have been in every... no, probably not every gross out. So the gross out competition originated at World Horror, and I killed it. I killed it at the 2016, which was the last World Horror. I won that one. Then I think the inaugural one... So there wasn't anything in 2017. The inaugural one in 2018, when it moved to KillerCon Austin, I won that one. And then I've been in every one since, except I think one or two of the Killer Cons, and then it ported over to Scares That Care. I think they are probably doing 2 now, so I don't know who's keeping count of that or whatever. But in any case, I've entered again 8 or 9 of these competitions. I usually start preparing them rather early. I simply did not this year, and then the last week when I was like, yeah, probably better buckle down and work on a gross out competition entry, did not. The fates conspired against me, and it did not happen. So as I was driving down, I was like, okay, let's turn off the music for a minute and think about this. And there was literally a while where I'm like, okay, inspiration strike, and inspiration strike. And ridiculous as it sounds, then it finally did. I got an idea. So after I got down there, dropped off all my stuff, I had a 6 o'clock appointment with a fan. Oh, and so usual rules for these recaps, if this is the first one you're seeing. I will mention public figures by their public name. I will not mention any non-public figures by name. If I have to talk about them, I'll say so-and-so's spouse or such and such a fan. and I will not out anybody's pen name. If I do so, it's by mistake, and I apologize profusely. So, uh, oh yeah. So I had a dinner appointment with a fan at 6, and Wiley Young, and so at this point, after I dropped off my boxes, it's about 5 on Thursday night. So I'm like, okay, let's at least get a first draft of that gross out contest. You're gonna want to polish this. I mean, hell, you're gonna want to practice it. And at this point, I've got like 48 hours, so like you're probably not getting any of that done. I sat down, and in 45 minutes, I had done 2 drafts, and I was happy with a second draft. And I was like, I'm ready to go with this. I'm ready to go for this event. So it was kind of like strokes of luck, like easy travels. Less than 4 hours, I was there. Picked the right pit stop. Got finally struck by inspiration, which, as any of you writers know, does not happen upon demand in any case. And quickly was able to write something. So I went out to dinner, and we had this dinner with a fan, and frankly, a good friend. Um, Wiley Young, and we caught up and we saw Jeff Strand and Bridget Nelson walk into the lobby. Like, hey, do you guys have dinner plans? Like, no, we're like, come with us. And then I got to meet Stevie. So Stevie came into the lobby, and I'm like, it's like this, the end of a decade long friendship finally culminating in meeting in person. So I saw her, and of course, the ultimate Fallout fan. She's decked out in her Fallout shirt. I remember the one year I was at a convention, and I saw a bottle of Nuka Cola. It was just painted Nuka Cola, and I sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh my God, Nuka Cola!" So I'm like, "Hey, so great to see you. Why don't you come out with us?" And she was here with a friend. Again, not a public figure. So they're like, no, we're getting oysters. And I'm like, oysters? Like, Williamsburg is famous for many things, but I've not heard it to be famous for oysters. They're like, no, we're getting oysters. That's why we came. It's not to see you or to help the charity. It's to get oysters. I'm joking. Of course, they didn't say that. But they were very stoked about these oysters. So we're like, okay, go enjoy your oysters in inland Virginia. Best wishes with that. And the rest of us went off to Maurizio's, the Italian joint. I don't even feel bad dropping a lot of the names of the places around Scares to Care, because a lot of them are like staples now, and they understand what's going on and they support us. I mean, like, particularly Rick's Cheesesteak Shop, which I'll get to in a minute. But if I say Maurizio's or the Whaling Company or I think it's called the Emerald Tie, people know what I'm talking about, and that's part of, I think, that welcome home element that Joe was gave me the kiss of death of Vito Corleone, and said welcome home, welcome home. That's exactly how it went. Ask him; he'll tell you. So we went out, and then we went back to the bar again, the Pitcher Sports Bar in the hotel, that great establishment that everybody likes to hang out at all hours of the night, and rightly so, like sort of a home away from home, where it's just like all divisions. And I know I'm a little hard on the sci-fi community, uh, but just for comparison, a lot of the sci-fi conventions I go to, they're very stratified. You wouldn't go talk to, I don't know, Neil Gaiman or somebody like that. You come to Pictures, and it's like there's John Langan, and there's newbie, never been published before, whoever, and there's fan from Brooklyn, and they're just standing around and they're talking, and Eric LaRocca walks in, and it's like Norm. Everybody's just. It's a great leveling field. Nobody's weird. Well, that's not true. There are some real fucking weirdos, but weirdos tolerated, weirdos welcomed, weirdos enjoyed. Um, so I'm hanging out. I'm finally getting to hang out with my friend after all these years. And we met another great well, great new author. Perhaps I outed you, Craig. Sorry about that. Uh, but we met a great new author, Craig Wesley Wall, who very much quickly jived with our gang, and very cool guy. I'm very glad to have met him. And I picked up. Oh God, I'm sorry, Craig. I have the book here somewhere. It's called like Splinters or Skitters or something. If there's somebody in the comments that knows the name of Craig's book, it's something like that, Splinters or something like that. I'm sorry, man. When I figure it out, I'll put it in the YouTube repost or whatever. But I picked up his book at the con because he was just such a cool guy. Oh, you know what? I don't have it here. I have it down with the rest of my book stock. So sometimes my personal books get caught up in the sauce. And it looks like Callie's here. All right. I don't think she wants to come in front of the camera, but something of a visit. So we're hanging out. We're hanging out with Stevie and Craig and Anton Cancray. I'm sorry, Anton. I actually have no idea. I don't think it's cancer. Is it canker or Cancray? In any case, Anton, another staple of Scares the Care, and just got on like gangbusters with Stevie. I feel like they were switched at birth. I'll put some pictures up on my Facebook page. Not too many, or they'll get incriminating. I'm just joking. It's just so fun seeing your friends from all walks of life come together. It's like, I don't know, going to a high school reunion or no, it's like when you go to your wedding and all those people that have never met are something like your uncles talking to like your college roommate or something. That's what it was like for me for a lot of this weekend. So we're all hanging out. Brian Keene, wonderful friend of mine, great author, and of course, large organizer and originator of Authorcon, certainly, and a member of the board of the Scares the Cares, 501c charity. He comes out and he says, "Hey, we're having a party at 9. Come on by the room. Come and hang out." So, I grab Stevie and Wiley and a bunch of people, and we go up to the party, and it's again, here's Gemma Moore, who I haven't seen in a year, and for some reason it's been like my year of Moore. So I actually got to interview her this weekend. I didn't get to speak to her as much as I wanted to, but I read White Pines this year, and picked up Dear Laura from Vortex, Brian's bookstore. So I got to talk to her for a bit, and really introduced Stevie, and again, it's just like, who else do we have? Ron Malfi was there, all kinds of people. I got to meet, or maybe, I can't remember if we've met before, but I think I got to meet Kev Harrison for the first time. Aaron Beauregard and Daniel Volpe were there. Good friends, from, I guess it was the inaugural Authorcon, was I think when we first met, and Brian Smith. So again, it's like, coming home, all these folks that, see each other only a couple times a year. So we go to this party, and then old man Keene, has to go take his arthritis medicine or whatever. He's like, "Everybody out." So we all went back to the bar and just had an amazing blast. If I say any more, I think some warrants will be issued in the state or the Commonwealth of Virginia for some of the folks that were in attendance that night. So, mum's the word on the rest of that. And in any case, we had to wake up the next morning for cheesesteaks from the famous Rick's Cheesesteaks, huge boosters of the Scares the Cares event, and staple of what is this? Is it William and Mary, the college in Williamsburg? It's whatever that college is there. That's like their pizza shop is Rick's Cheesesteaks. But then once a year, it's the fucking weirdo hangout. So So we woke up in the morning. I grabbed Stevie, Wiley, Jeff, Bridget, and a couple of fans and friends, and headed over to Rick's Cheesesteaks to get the obligatory cheesesteaks. And we went there real early in the morning. I was like, okay, they open at 11. Let's leave at 10:45. Beat the rush because there's going to be a rush. It's probably impossible to get in or out on Saturday. I can only imagine, considering how bad it is on Friday. Then, of course, Armand and his lovely wife show up. Armand Rosamilia, Tommy Clark. I think that was when I met Chase Will. I apologize. Listen. I should also say the other thing about Kosnowski recaps is I apologize profusely if I don't say your name. But look, if you've been to one of these events, you know you can't relate like every amazing conversation you've had. I've had dozens, if not hundreds, of conversations this weekend with people all across the spectrum. It is amazing. I'm not trying to be shitty. I'm not trying to name drop. I really am not. I'm just trying to give a flavor for what was going on, and I don't want anybody to feel left out. So I'm trying not to just sit there and be like, I saw this person, then I saw that person, then I saw that person, then I saw that person. It's just I they're stupid rules, but they're the rules that have served me well with these recaps. So if I failed to mention you, please. It does not mean we didn't have a great conversation. I love you all. You physically in an hour long recap, I can't recreate every conversation that happened over the course of a 4 days and change event. So anyway, bunch of other people. Once we got to the cheesesteak shop, bunch of other people showed up. So then I remember Stevie wanted to get some stuff from the Target, and Wiley wanted a bottle of scotch and a bottle of Advil, and I'm like, well, that sounds like an excellent combination, Wiley. I agree. You should get both of those items checked off your list. So those guys went off their way. I got to spend some time with Jeff Strand and Bridget Nelson, old friends from this con, who I have royally fucked over many times. So sometimes I'm shocked they're still willing to drive around with me. But it's just great to see people. It's just always great to see old friends. Got a cup of coffee. When else do I get to have a cup of coffee with Jeff Strand and Bridget Nelson? But once or twice a year. So this is Friday, right? So Friday's the day. So Thursday's the day that everyone wanders in, and increasingly Wednesday, especially with this event. I've done Wednesday before. I've actually done Wednesday to Monday. That's the longest I've ever done, and it's too much. It's too much. It's less like a special little treat and more like, okay, this is going on too long. So I don't do Wednesdays anymore. I think Thursday to Monday is the sweet spot for me. I've also done Friday, like the Friday to Sunday, like arrive as late as possible, depart as early as possible, and those are just fucking horrible. So everybody, I'm sure everybody has their own feelings about what makes for a good event. and that's just mine. Is the Thursday to like Thursday after arrive Thursday afternoon, depart Monday morning. That's my sweet spot. So now here, we got to see everybody break the ice a little bit. Now it's Friday. Everybody's gonna get the attendees are gonna be off work. Around 5. So vendors room and everything's gonna open at 5, and the big kickoff event is at 4. So Stevie and I set up our table, and we're still like getting little school children and finally getting to see each other in person, and then we toddle off to the opening ceremonies, and it was really cool. So this year, they every year they give away a crystal award, which is for one of the scares that cares volunteers. So this year it went to Jake Lerner, well deserved. I mean, I talk to Jake. I work with him every year. He's the one that gets all the tables set up. He's the one that makes shit happen. So it was very cool to see him get his award this year. I say his award. Yeah, he got his award. Okay, so I wasn't trying to imply anything weird about it. But well deserved after many years. And then they had the Wilburn Thomas Award, which is of course named after our dear departed friends, Jay Wilburn and Dave Thomas. And before I get too choked up thinking about Jay again or Dave again, that went to Grady Hendrix and Valancourt Books. So Grady Hendrix, of course, very famously brought interest back to the paperbacks from hell, those classic 80s books with the weird, wacky covers. Maybe the penultimate example being like the Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum with the skeletal cheerleader that just makes no sense. But they get far more bizarre and exciting and weird and collectible from there, of course. So Valancourt Books has actually apparently brought a lot of the paper. So Grady, created the interest, and then Valancourt has republished a lot of these books and created new, reinvigorated careers for a lot of those old writers from 70s, 80s, 90s that wrote the paperbacks from hell. So good on them. Good on them for really doing great things for the horror community. Well deserved to both of you guys. And so from there, the doors opened and the floodgates opened. And now, I've been talking about this event, and you guys maybe think I'm partisan, which I am. I'm a big booster of Scares That Cares. Every event from the crab fest that had no crab to the podcast marathons to the charity weekends to the 5K, every event that I've ever attended that had a Scares That Care banner over it has just been an amazing, great experience. And that's what I guess goes, so hand in glove with the charity is give everyone a great experience and have a good reason behind it, and they'll want to keep coming back and they'll want to keep giving to your charity and they'll feel, welcome home, right? I don't know. I don't even care if I say I'm a shill for Scares That Care. I'm happy to be a shill for this charity. Look it up. Donate a few bucks. It's not just a weekend. They accept donations all year round. So, sorry, I'm just checking the comments. Lara said Jake kicked butt this year. Jake Lerner, the winner of the Crystal Award. So yeah, he really did. He's a great guy. So anyway, what I was getting at with that was foot traffic was amazing. I'm no great shakes, but I had my best sales, my second best sales ever this year at Scares the Cares Authorcon. My best sales were the year at was a year at the old flagship Scares the Care where I was in the celebrity room. So I was doing celebrity room money in the vendor's room, and that simply does not happen. It does not happen for me. It doesn't happen for people. Um, and I mean, another great thing that the organizers do is to avoid the appearance of favoritism, avoid the appearance of nepotism, is move some years celebrity guests just have to buy vendors tables. It's just the way the cookie crumbles because they have to spread the love around. So just that's just an astonishing thing for me. Stevie practically sold out. She had this is her first. This was her first book event since 2018. So at her first appearance in 6 years, um, she nearly sold out of books. Eric LaRocca sold out twice, which I know sounds like a joke or a punchline or something, but apparently he sold out of his entire stock. The event organizers then went driving around Williamsburg. This sounds like an old Simpsons joke. Homer couldn't get enough food at the all you can eat buffet, so he went driving around looking for other all you can eat buffets and then went fishing. So Eric LaRocca sold out of all of his copies of all of his great work. The grass was the grass grew because you bled there, and things have gotten worse since last we spoke and everything. And the event organizers went out to all the Barnes and Nobles and bookstores in Williamsburg, brought him a fresh stack of books, and he sold out again. I believe a couple of other people sold out. I know Wiley Young had some really solid sales. I believe I beat him. As a matter of pride, I'm just going to assert that as a matter of pride, I beat him in sales. Razortooth did very, very well, for those of you who are wondering. I only have a few copies left of that con exclusive. So again, if you want that Wilderson cover, only way you're going to get it is to get in touch with me pretty shortly. And Laura already wants a copy. So supplies are dwindling. So reach out to me, and then we'll have the wide release next month. So just incredible sales at this event. So Friday wrapped up around 9. We all toddled back to the bar. I actually hung out at the bar. I'm not gonna lie. The bar is very fun and the lobby is very fun, but I usually get off to room parties with Wes Southern and Wiley Young and anybody else who doesn't get sick of me and kick me out. But this year I spent a lot more time at the bar than I usually do. And there wasn't even karaoke. I think the karaoke was elsewhere. I didn't get to sing any karaoke this year. But, still an amazing event despite not having a song in my heart that I could foist upon you people. So we headed back to the bar. We're hanging out with Craig Wesley Wall. I don't know. Again, I don't want to just list off names and be like, oh, this person, this person, this person. Then I believe Wiley Young got his first life save of the con that night. So Wiley got a total of 5 life saves. I only saved 2 lives during the con. No, I'm not joking, and no, I'm not exaggerating. And I've never saved somebody's life before. Despite being a lifeguard for many, many years, I never actually had to actively, physically. All I ever did was training. I never physically saved somebody. I worked at suburban pools. But I actually helped out 2 people from getting hurt or getting taken advantage of this year. But Wiley got his first notch on his belt that night, he is a former EMT. So when the first person fell into distress, all anyone could think to do was, "Where's Wiley Young?" Not, "Let's call 911," like you might think, but no, "Wiley, come fix this." And then that happened at least three more occasions. Um, then one evening, I helped a person to their car, not that was driving. I helped a person that was incapacitated to their friend's car to get them back safely to their hotel, and I helped another person who was quite incapacitated. I walked them back to their room. So it was one of those weekends. Um, so yeah, so that was Friday night. Then Saturday's the big one. So Saturday's the big day where we vend from 10 to, oh, and I forgot, Stevie Copas, first reading ever Friday night, along with Jess Epley, another good friend and great author. And that apparently went smashingly. So again, you know, opening up opportunities for authors. It's just an amazing event. Um, so Saturday is the big day. That's when the tables are open from 10 to 6. Yeah, 10 to 6, I believe. And I also had two presentations that day. So we open up, sold like gangbusters Friday night. And these events, you'll see, it's weird. Sometimes, usually Friday's not great. Usually Sunday's the worst. You might get a few pity sales, like, "Oh, I gotta get something before I leave the con." But usually Sunday's the worst. Sometimes Friday is better than Saturday. Usually Saturday's like long, but that's when everybody sets aside Saturday to go to an event. If you have kids, you're not necessarily going to go after work on Friday. You might just go on a Saturday. Uh, this year, Friday was quite robust. Saturday was very strong. I sold probably three times as many books as I did, on Friday. And then Sunday was also rather strong sales. Again, my second best event ever. The only time that topped it was when I was a guest of honor. So around, yeah, so 2 p.m. I had the crowdfunding panel, and that was with Sherilyn Kenyon, Sarah Medeiros, and Jennifer. I'm sorry, Jennifer, I cannot remember your last name. I still remember your first name because I try to be a good moderator. So I was moderating that panel, and yeah, that's my only trick. That's my only trick for moderators is memorize the first names of all the authors, all the panelists, and you go, and what do you think, Sherilyn? That's the only advice I can give you. Um, so that panel went really well. We were talking about crowdfunding, um, what platforms to use. I actually learned a lot. It was a good variety of experiences with different perspectives on the crowdfunding. And I even felt like I was making a few points that nobody else was, which, if you've ever been on a panel, sometimes you're like, what do I say? How do I say anything that everybody else hasn't already said 5 times? But on this one, I was like, there was such a wide breadth of experience that everybody had different thoughts that they were bringing, and I was like, thank goodness. Um, so then at 4 was Wiley Young's and my reading, and Becky and Daisha, Becky Lejeune and Daisha Arnold, as promised from rolling up on me the day or 2 days before, rolled up on our reading, and Amanda Headley, of course, and a few fans and friends that I know. So that went rather well, and of course, the great fun of that reading was that Wesley Southard, our good friend Wesley Southard, declined to attend Scares That Cares this year, uh, only after uh, Brian Keene, the organizer, had helped him move his house. So yes, that's right. I'm calling you out, Wesley. You made that man help you move, and then you were like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not going to your shitty convention this year." So we all saw that. We all caught exactly what was going on with that. No, I am, of course, engaging in the age-old ritual within the horror community of busting Wesley Southard's chops. So we brought that. We couldn't, just because Wesley wasn't there, not have Wesley chop busting at the event. So after we had both given our presentations and after we had done the Q&A, we decided to start talking about our fondest memories of Wes. And then Amanda Headley posted a photo on Instagram of me on one side and Wiley on the other, and just an arrow pointing that said, "Where's Wesley Southard?" To which he immediately began getting flustered like Daffy Duck or something. What is this photo? Why am I being pointed at? Yeah. So that was just for fun there, Wes. Don't get too excited about it. We had to bring our favorite contact sport to Scares because you wouldn't come. So we brought it with us. So yes, other cool thing, met Gavin Dillinger. I think, yeah, I believe that was Saturday. And Gavin is from Tennessee, and Stevie lives in Tennessee. And there were some other members of the Tennessee HWA there. So Gavin and Stevie were pretty excited about making inroads with the Horror Writers Association over there in their home state. So pretty shortly after Wiley and I's reading, the vendor table shut down, and we headed out to have dinner. So we went with Craig, Stevie, Gavin. Um, who were the Tennessee writers? Jesse Ann York and Bert. What was his name? Bert. Was it Bert Edens or something like that? I'm sorry. Again, not only is there a lot of people that I'm talking to, I'm not great with names, so I apologize. But so we actually had a big old Godfather or Last Temptation of Christ or whatever your particular cultural touch point is, meal at the Mexican place in Williamsburg, which I had actually never been to before. In fact, I did not realize it was there. So Maurizio's, as I said, was a staple. I think I've probably been there every year at one point. It's like old reliable. Sorry, I'm just plugging my computer in because I see that it's losing power, and I know you don't want to miss any of my scintillating commentary. But if you keep going past Maurizio's Italian place in Williamsburg, Virginia, you get to a Mexican restaurant where we had laid out a table. And then over at the other table was hanging out Daisha and Becky, Todd Kiesling, and a few other people. So it was really great atmosphere, and Stevie and Gavin and the Tennessee writers were all talking about, hollers and Raylan Givens and whatever else one does in Tennessee. I assume moonshining, rum running, maybe meth cooking. I'm pissing off an entire state here. Please send me your angry letters. Send angry letters care of Gavin Dillinger, and I'll put his address in the log here. Um, so we yes. So Saturday night is also the night of the capper, the centerpiece of the weekend, the gross out contest, which again I talked about earlier. I talked about how I had to rush around to complete my entry, and I had not gotten a great chance to review it, so I wanted to sit down and review it a couple of times, and then of course Wrath James White and Brian Keene, dressed in full drag, came walking into the lobby, soliciting funds for the charity in the annual bra walk. So I gave up a couple of donations, as did everybody else. You know, it's all to this event for as much fun and as much fun as I have talking about it and busting chops and even getting to meet people I've never met before and seeing old friends and everything else. You know, we never forget that this is for burn victims and cancer victims. I mean, that's what it's really, you know, really for. So this is just a fun little gag that they do every year to help raise some money. So we all then filed into the gross out contest, which now the other thing I have to say about Scares That Care is that they always listen. There's a hot wash that they do on Sunday, and I think it's called like Yell at Brian and Joe, Brian Keene and Joe Ripple, the founder and the organizer. Um, so they always have a hot wash on Sunday, where you go and you give them your complaints and you give them your suggestions, and they genuinely they change things every year. Like I've been kind of talking about how, you know, they move the karaoke from the bar. You know, there's always these little things. So like the cards that they gave us. Let me see if I can find my. Yeah. Okay. So like here's my card. So you see this year, it says Stephen Kosniewski, French Press Publishing. So they were saying we can do your name, so you can either do Stephen Kosniewski, or some bullshit name, Little Black Demon or whatever, and then down here you can be like, you know, Paragon of Excellence, Capataz de Cargadores, or you know, whatever else. Which in past years, pretty much, my badge would have said Stephen Kosniewski, and Stevie's badge would have said Stephen Kosniewski number two, which is fine. But when you're all hanging out in a bar where I can't even a few days later remember everybody's name, uh, it's kind of awkward being like, no, I'm not Stephen Kosniewski number two. I'm his friend. So that was very cool. So anyway, back to the gross out contest. What they changed this year, last year, if any of you attended, it was incredibly hot. It was stiflingly hot. It was in the one of the classrooms on the second floor. Now it's a larger classroom. Classroom seems like a misnomer to me, but I can't think of what else you might call it. For the average viewer, you picture a large classroom. I guess present event room, or I don't know. I don't know what the right word is. I'm not really in hospitality. So this was in a larger classroom, and it was incredibly hot. We're all stacked up like sardines, and a lot of people were leaving. And the atmosphere was such that everyone was getting cheered on. It was a very supportive atmosphere, which is cool. But if you don't know, for the gross out contest, you're supposed to get booed off if you suck. So that shortens the length. But for some reason, well, shockingly, at this wonderful charity event, everyone's very supportive. So the length of the event is just stretching out, and we're all sitting in this room. And I know lots of people that are like, I tried to attend last year, it was too hot, I had to leave. So this year, they moved it to the auditorium, which was like a literal and metaphorical breath of fresh air. Um, and, but although funnily enough, I think once they had gotten the clue and people were more comfortable and stuff, they were also much more comfortable with giving the thumbs down. So the event was shorter, and it was in a larger atmosphere. So even if it had been longer, it would have been all right. And then the hotel set up a bar, like a mini bar. Mini bar is not the right, like a limited selection bar. So the bartender had a couple of like beers and wines and a couple of mixed drinks, not like a full wet bar. In the gross out contest, which is exactly what you want. So people aren't always like, I'm gonna run to the bar and wait for half an hour, to go and then come back and it's like I've missed half of it. Excuse me. So everything was just wonderfully organized. It's always wonderfully organized every year. This year in particular, it's getting better and better. So I entered the contest again. I lost for the 6th year in a row. I don't know. I don't think I'm ever getting my three-peat. Supposedly you can retire after you've won 3 times. I guess I'll just be like Longinus, the centurion who pierced Christ's side, and just doomed to wander the wilds forever doing gross out contests. Because God forbid I could ever win that 3rd one, despite bringing it every year. But in any case, despite my obvious deserving win, RJ Benetti won this year. Completely undeserved. Just absolute shit on RJ's. I'm just busting chops. No. RJ won. Wiley came in 4th. I think 3rd was Dan Simmons, which I have to give mad prop. I can't remember what place Dan Simmons came in, but he did it without reading. He did it without a computer, or without a phone or paper, which I have done in the past. It's very hard. It's much more akin to stand-up comedy than a reading. And he got up there and did not once falter or anything. Did an amazing job. And I apologize again. I cannot remember who won 2nd place. But, yes. So, having come in the bottom 12, I won this wonderful Funko Pop of, Val from Star Wars. I have no... And you have to know, I am a Star Wars nerd. I love Star Wars. I have no fucking clue who Val is. Just absolutely no fucking clue. I've seen every Star Wars 1,000 times. Somebody clue me in if you know. And and when I say that, I mean like, I know who Sice Noodles is. I knew who Thrawn was before it was cool. I read all those fucking books. I know Dr. Evazan. I know Walrus Man's not his real name. I know all that shit. And who the fuck is Val? I don't know. But I don't know. So I'm sure I'll get a lot of angry comments from the real fans who are no doubt out there on this recording. In any case, another bottom 12. At least I didn't get the Bunny of Shame this year, as I did, I think it was 3 years ago. So, Saturday night. Oh, yes. Then Saturday night was when I had my first or second life save. Yeah, I think one was Saturday, one was Sunday. Was when I saved the lives. So I toddled off to bed a bit early. Dan Schrader, sup Steven, sup Dan. Got to meet Dan Schrader this year. I do have that one. Who wrote Those Who Live in Darkness, Volume 1, and I assume Volume 2. Maybe he'll hand it off to another writer for the next one. These things happen. But yeah, got to meet Dan Schrader this year at the table. Another lovely, lovely young writer, lovely experience. Um, you need to enter next year, Dan, the Gross Out contest. So start working on that now. Um, so yeah, we all toddled off to bed. I think I got to bed at the very reasonable hour for a Scares the Care Saturday night of 5. I've definitely made it to 7 in the past. I think I've ever made it past 7 because I need like a solid 3 hours of sleep before I'm ready to go back to vending. Um, so yeah, and speaking of going back to vending, get up on Sunday, rinse and repeat again. Sunday, sometimes Sunday sucks. Sometimes even it scares the carriage Sunday sucks. Did not suck this year. Dan says, plan on it. All right, bring it. Bring it next year. You need to take down Benetti, take down that fucking clown, take down Simmons, take down Wiley Young. They're all fucking clowns. You can take them. I mean, not physically, though. They will, like Wiley Young, will just sit on your head, and it'll like smash like a watermelon. But take them in the field, the gentleman's field of grossing, the gentlemen and ladies and Smizmar's field of grossing out. Because and yes, I said that as a joke to sound like an old timey 19th century guy, but yes, there were uh, many female entrants. Megan Stockton, uh, Mrs. So Candace Nola's mother entered. Yeah, there was some great work. In fact, was she number 2? Now I'm wondering. No, I can't remember. I don't know. Not my job. Not my job yet. Perhaps it will be my job to remember these things in the future. I don't know. Cryptic hint, or am I just delirious from being away and drinking all weekend and not sleeping? You decide, America and world. Anyway, verbal jujitsu. Yes, upon the field of verbal jujitsu. Take those clowns to school, Dan. Be the new Shogun. When they make Shogun season 2, let it be the story of Dan Schrader taking down the triumvirate of fucking clowns who currently unrespectfully, dishonorably rule the gross out universe. That's sold. That's already sold to FX or whoever the fuck. Um, so, God, I have this hair probably from when my cat was in here earlier. I don't think this is one of my hairs on my tongue. So I'm up at 10 the next day, back to vending, back to hanging out with Stevie, Wiley, Gavin, Craig, all these great people, Dan, and Laura. And I realized on Sunday that I had never walked around. I had never had a break in sales such that I could walk around the vendor's room, which is ridiculous, but true. And I mean, part of it is that I'm here with my writing partner, so my sales are like, hey, let's talk. Now let's talk about Stevie. Now let's have a whole conversation and discussion. But part of it is also that the foot traffic at this event is so strong that I do not have a chance to break away from the table. And I mean, of course I could, but I feel like I'm doing a disservice kind of to myself to come all this way, bring all these books, and not just simply do what I'm supposed to do, which is sell myself and get my name out there, and someday become famous and live off of this and live off the land like a true mountain man. That's my dream. Um, but in any case, I simply had not broken away from the table all weekend. And Sunday, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I haven't talked to Jess McHugh. I never got back to talk to Gemma Moore, who, at the party, I had I had threatened to give her a TikTok interview at the party, and she was like, "No, no, no, please find me later." And I was like, "Do you remember that you promised?" And she's like, "Yes, I remember that I promised." I'm like, "All right, well, it's time now." Had not talked to John Langan, had not talked to Paul Tremblay, had not talked to Jeremy McGargy, barely talked to Volpe and Beauregard. Dan Schrader, it was awesome. So many people. Your table was always flooded. You and Stevie did great together. Thanks, man. That's great to hear. I'm so glad. I really hope it went well for her. I hope she enjoyed herself as well and had great sales. I was so happy to get to meet her and introduce her to these these people, this audience of great people. I know she has a huge audience. This is the reason why I begged her to write Slash Fiverr with me. I had the contract, and I've told this story elsewhere. I had a contract in hand. I did not have an audience, and I had an idea which was about half of Slash Fiverr. And Stevie had a huge audience, but she's like, I need to get into business with a different publisher. And she had an idea which was about the other half of Slash Fiverr. And I was like, can I mix your peanut butter with my chocolate? And it was like a match made in heaven. And we did Slash Fiverr, and it did very well. She was fucking awesome. She is indeed fucking awesome. I believe her motto is Stevie Kopis is one of the coolest people in the world. I think I'll go on record here as saying, you do yourself a disservice, Stevie. You are, in fact, the coolest person in the world. And as you know, if peeing your pants is cool, you can consider me Miles Davis. So, I mean, Dan said it, not me. I didn't even bring it up. So I'm like, I feel like an asshole, but I'm finally, and this is when I go and I see Craig, and I'm like, oh my God, Craig, I know you've been vending all weekend, but please let me read one of you. Please let me buy one of your books. And like I said, talking to John Lang and Paul Tremblay. I mean, I saw Paul a couple months ago at Portsmouth at the Christopher Golden's House of Last Resort weekend. And yeah, just everybody else. Oh well, I mean, I got to introduce Stevie to Haley Piper. I know she's. I know Stevie's got a book that I think will. I think it'll really sell if we can get her connected with the right publishers and the right people. So, fingers crossed to help get that off the ground. I feel like I'm just name dropping at this point, which I have said several times. I will not. I'm trying not to do. I just want to try and give you guys all a flavor of these events. But sales were really robust right up until like 1:32, and that's also weird because everybody fucking pops smoke at these events at like 11. They're like, "Fuck you, I'm out. Throw my shit on the van." I've watched it 1,000 times. Everybody shuts down, and I'm kind of I'm perpetually Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill, and I'll usually be like, "Well, I paid for this table. I'm gonna stay till 3 p.m. Maybe the last of the FOMO people will come crawling out of the woodwork." And they never come crawling out of the woodwork, except this weekend. They fucking came crawling out of the woodwork. I was still selling books. This is no bullshit. This is no cap, fam. Okay, it might seem a bit sus, but this is no cap. I was no shit. Gat. I'm gonna yeet some truth at you right now. It was no shit. I was selling books in the bar at 7 p.m. on Sunday night. I was still, and I wasn't like, hey, blah, 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 blah. I was just like, people were making hand sales for me and being like, hey man, go back to your car before you pull out. Get this guy a book. He's gonna give you some bucks. I'm like, okay, how do I say no to that? So, anyway, I may or may not have stayed up a little too late on Saturday night. And, but I mean, I was saving lives, is the key thing here that you're forgetting as you judge me with your judgy fucking eyes. Okay? I was out saving lives. What the fuck were you doing? Okay? At 5 a.m. that night. Okay? So I don't want to hear it. But I was a little tired. Okay, when the room finally shut down. So Stevie and Wiley were really excited to go see Civil War, and I was frankly I was pretty excited to go see it too. A lot of people were telling me this weekend. I even made a couple sales on saying that it was based on Every Kingdom Divided, which sorry guys, whenever you find out the truth, it's still a pretty good book. But it is certainly not the basis for that movie. So we packed up. I packed up my car. So I was taking Wiley for some. So Wiley did indeed used to work for the airports, so he knows how to get the most squeeze the most buck out of an airport. And for some unwholesome reason, he, Dan says, "Don't stare at me with them dead eyes, you church bitch." LOL. Okay, I will. I will try not to. So, oh yeah. So Wiley was flying out of my hometown here. He figured out some way that getting two one ways was cheaper from Oklahoma City to Williamsburg, and then from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Oklahoma City was somehow cheaper. Um, so he figured this gibberish out. So he was flying back, or he was driving back home with me. Did this just reverse? I'm sorry. I'm looking. I'm still keeping an eye on the comments. Maybe somebody deleted a comment. Okay, so um, so I packed a car. Um, they went off to go see Civil War. I went off to try and get a couple hours sleep. Because if you were there last year with me and Lucas Milliron and Don Noble, you know, and Joe Pesavento and Craig Brownlee and some other folks, but I'm not sure if they're public figures or not. You know, we shut that place down on Sunday night. Now, the Sunday night squad did not get back together this year, sadly. But it was a distinct possibility, so I wanted to get a couple hours under my belt before any of that started. So around 6 or 7, they got back from the movie. We toddled off to the bar. Again, this is actually the best. Dan says Facebook made me delete that. It was a Kenny Powers quote. Sorry. Why were they saying it was? You know, nothing to be sorry about. I don't have any, as you can tell, I don't have any issues with profanity. So sorry for Facebook doing that to you. Sundays, in many ways, Sunday is my favorite night of the con. I'm really glad Stevie stayed over. I'm really glad Wiley was staying over. And Craig and Amanda Headley, Lucas Milliron, a couple of folks. So the organizers were counting up the money, count their money, and who was left of us were finally relaxing because like it's not like, oh, we got to get up in the morning and fucking go to vending again. We can just finally like decompress and talk about the weekend. So we were doing that a bit, and then eventually Stevie and Wiley and Lucas and I and a few others headed back to have a room party, and Stevie had unfortunately not been able to attend the gross out contest. So we gave her her own personal gross out contest, at least from, the three best entrants being Wiley, myself, and Lucas Milliron. So I mean that's the kind of shit you miss when you don't go to Scares and Cares and you don't, you know, reach out and try to make yourself something of a social butterfly. So yeah, packed up the next day, came back with Wiley. Finally got to hang out with Wesley Southard, because he lives in my hometown here too, not very far. So it was just an amazing event. Um, I am going to post this eventually on YouTube. I'm probably gonna go to bed right now, but I'm glad that I got this together. So thanks everybody for watching. Uh, Thanks so much. If I saw you at Scares That Cares, I do this all the time. Everybody does. We call it Scares That Cares, but it's Scares That Care. It just sometimes it comes off the tongue differently. If you attended Scares That Care, if you attended Authorcon, let me know about your memories of it in the comments, or if you're catching this on YouTube, okay, you can let me know in the YouTube comments too. Or if you're catching this on my blog, let me know in the blog comments. Like, what were your favorite memories? What do you remember? What did you enjoy? What did Joe whisper sensually into your ear when he first saw you after a year? All that kind of stuff. I would love to know it. I would love to see it. I've been really enjoying seeing all the photos um, coming up today. I know the photos have kind of a samey quality because it's all two people going like, ah. But even so, it's not all that. There's other stuff that you can see in the background. Dan says later, dog. Laura says the bra walk was your favorite part. That's great. Um, Even so, even though it kind of has this samey quality, there's also a like, oh yeah, this is a certain point in time, and oh, I know what the background of this is, and maybe one person's cutting eyes at the other, or maybe one's doing something like that. So let me know how your Scares of Care went, and what you liked, and what you noticed changed, and what you noticed never changes, and keeps it a great event. And I can't wait till next year. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.